the Everything But Politics podcast.
Welcome back to the Everything But Politics podcast. With us today is Zach Misischia, co-founder and co-host of the Makeshift project, alongside Brian Kahns. Since launching their show in 2021, they've created an unbelievable product. I'm sure you guys have seen them on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, etc. And nonetheless, it's great to finally be making this happen. So, Zach, thank you for joining our show, brother. It's good to have you with
Welcome.
us.
Yeah, thank you. We went back and forth a little bit. It was like trying to figure out a date. Oh, we have to cancel, and then the Mets playoffs trying to interfere with us here. But we moved it up. We're making it happen, and we're here. So thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, our
Let's do
pleasure.
it.
And they might continue to interrupt some potential dates for you. I know that's priority number one here as they are making their push. But, Zach, Makeshift Project, like I said, really, really cool what you guys have built. Number-wise, just incredible. But what is the Makeshift Project? Where did that name come from?
Yeah, so I was in a group chat with me, Brian, and our buddy Matt. And we were just throwing out names. We knew we wanted to do something, and we had this idea to film some sort of like podcast or short clip content. You know, you're motivated by what other people are doing. You could do it better yourself, or you could do something slightly different, whatever. And I think I threw it out there. I was like makeshift because like we're literally just taking stuff in Brian's parents' basement. We're throwing it on the wall, and let's just start it. Our one buddy Matt wasn't sold on the idea. We filmed something. We had a few drinks before doing it. It turned out awful. A month later, Brian texted us and goes, "Okay, what happened?" He's like, "Why aren't we doing this?" I was like, "I'm just trying to focus here, there, everywhere." And we wound up actually saying, "Okay, fine, let's do it." And yeah, so it was very makeshift of us. It's our studio is very makeshift. It's in literally the corner of Brian's parents' basement. We painted the walls down there. We hung up a bunch of jerseys, everything. And I think it was supposed to be the makeshift experience, but we are like, that sounds a little too corny. Makeshift project works. And then we kind of ran with that. So little origin behind the name, and that's kind of where we landed.
Where's this
Awesome.
basement at? Where in New Jersey are we talking about?
Yeah, it's Monmouth County. I won't give out the specifics, but Monmouth County, Freehold, Marlboro, Manalapan, that kind of area. The people who know, and the people who don't, they'll have to keep guessing. But yeah, it's kind of funny because when we have guests in the studio, I have to like bring them through Brian's parents' house to be able to get downstairs. And they're like, "Do you guys live here? Like, what is?" I was like, "No, this is just our area where we film." So
Too funny.
it's fun, it's enjoyable, and I kind of like that homey feel because I grew up pretty much there. So
Zach, I want to talk a little bit about each social media on its own, like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Which one do you prefer to use, and which one did you guys see the most growth on early on in your career?
yeah, I want to say my favorite's YouTube because I think
Okay.
it gives you kind of the all-around platform to be able to be a creator. So it's like we got the full-length podcasts on there, you got the short form clips. You could kind of do like community posts, which we run polls on our YouTube channel. It lets you interact the most, and I've also had the least amount of problems with YouTube. And then I think the most growth, I mean, our first TikTok we posted got like 500,000 views. And we're like, oh God, we got to keep doing this thing. So kind of started there. I think we gained the following there and said, why not post our content to other platforms as well? There's no reason for any creator, if you're out there listening, to not be posting to all platforms. Just repurpose the content, even if it's got to be over a minute, under a minute, whatever it is. Because you could grow an audience across all channels. And that's kind of our strategy and what we've done. And, we built it into a career. I used to be full time in the corporate world, and now I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm super bullish on YouTube. Most people don't know, but YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world after Google. Obviously, Google owns YouTube, but I think there's so much growth potential with YouTube, especially given the fact that a YouTube video from 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago, is still relevant. Whereas an Instagram post from 10 years ago is completely dug way down in that profile. So, like, if I were to search Makeshift Project, like, Costco guys in a decade from now, that emerges immediately. Whereas if you guys posted a clip on the Instagram, it is not as simple of finding it, and the shelf life really disappears after, a month, really.
It's even hard for the creator. So like I'm sure you guys see on like the back end, I'm like trying to find analytics and metrics for like campaigns or certain videos. Like I can't even find that on Instagram. Like YouTube, I like the back end in the studio is also like great for us. I'm like, did we do this idea before? Like have we run this one? I could search it up and basically find it based off the title. I could search it in the YouTube search engine to see if we've done it. And you know, you see what's been successful and then you kind of, you know, use that and leverage it for your idea. So it's the best platform by far in my eyes. My Instagram, the you know person that we contact. I hope he doesn't hear that, but but no, it's honestly the most versatile, and I think it's given us the most benefit. So definitely excited to continue to grow that on top of you know the podcast we're doing now. We got a few more plans in line. So
Cool. Yeah, and you know what? Here we are, 2024, and close it out here. Time to finish it off with a bang. But prior to the bang, Zach, I listened to your first episode in
oh yeah,
2021. I did. And the transition or the pivot you guys have made in 3 years really is incredible. From the editing to the audio enhancement, everything. I mean, at what point did you guys, that first episode, our first episode was not good, and then we got better over time. But at what point did you guys say we need to take our editing, our video, everything to the next level?
yeah. Well, Brian like did it professionally. He worked for the New York Giants and he worked for Overtime Sports. And I think just the equipment and everything, like we knew we couldn't just be stagnant with where we started. But like if you're starting a channel, starting a podcast, like don't worry about the quality at first because you're gonna get better as you go. So I think it was less of like a moment where we said like, oh, we have to get better at this or we need the quality to increase. More so just like I knew from the first video, the first podcast, like we just need to get something out there, get in the routine, get consistent. It's like going to the gym. Like if I go lift for one
Yep.
day and then I don't lift for a month, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna be sore the next time I lift. But the more you kind of flex that muscle, the more you work at it, the better you get kind of as you go. Like I was not an expert in audio. I'm still not an expert in audio. I do all of our audio stuff, but I've learned so many tiny things along the way. Like there's still more to go, still a chance to get better at it. But you know, what I've learned so far is that like, okay, you need to put this filter, you need to run this through an EQ. I've learned limiters, compressors, like all these things I never thought I would even touch. You just kind of get better along as you kind of mess around with it and as you go. It's an art. I'm not a
Yep.
perfect artist, but you know, it's my art, so we're good.
There you go.
And what softwares do you use to help edit your guys' videos?
Yeah, so I'll start with audio. So I used to mess around with music. My brother was big into music growing up.
Yep.
So I have Logic Pro, which is where we capture the audio. I do some audio enhancements in there, and then I bring everything into Adobe Premiere. I have like templates within there that I like, that I found that I use. But Adobe Premiere is kind of like the way we've been running it for the last, 20 podcasts. We just felt like Brian was already on that tier. I needed to catch up, and we've been able to kind of double our output with me being able to do editing as well. So he's got the templates in there. He's got, I got the audio templates and all the sounds and stuff. And we just kind of use those two programs, and that's pretty much all you need. That, some creativity, maybe Canva to do some thumbnails. That's kind of where we rock.
That's
Sweet.
pretty cool. So when you guys, I want to go back to that first TikTok that, hit 500,000. Was it just lucky? And then a lot of people have gone viral, right? But to stay viral is a different thing. How did you guys get an understanding of the algorithm, whether that be YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok?
Yeah, that's like, I think part of it's luck, but like I ask Brian this question all the time because it's a great question to ask. I'm like, well, like, do you think if that first video didn't pop off or second video, whatever it was, like, do you think we would have made it to where we are? Like, and he says yes. And I'm like, I'm probably more on the luck side, but speaking for him, I'm like, well, he's like, with consistency, and if you continue to do it, I'm kind of lean more towards this, you'll eventually catch it. And then to stay consistent and learn based off what your audience likes is kind of how you have to run and how you have to go. So, and we did like Who Am I's really early on. We did a video game bracket. We're like, let's do these things, more of it. Once it stops working, and this works for any series that we try out or anything that we do, we cut it. We're like, hey, listen, no more of these. We got to come up with something new, a new style of game. The only two things that stuck around were like the top 5, 10 list and the blind rankings. And people know it's for that. So we're always going to do that.
That's how I
But
find
always
it.
picking up new games and ideas as we
You
go.
mentioned
Yeah.
consistency. So As I was, getting ready for this episode, you made a great point in a previous episode, talking about Hawk Tuah girl, Haley Welsh, podcast deal with Better Media. And, it's like the long game of podcasting, right? The analogy you made was the Cavender twins, who also signed a podcast deal with Better, and they're not doing it anymore. So, like I said, it really is just a matter of outlasting because we've been doing this since August 2022. And here we are, episode 100 something. And like I noticed, I'm very tapped into this game, as obviously you are too. Like a lot of people have stopped, like in just 2 years. Like this is a long game. This is a very long game. So when I say that, and you think about that, what is like your vision for Makeshift Project from long term?
Yeah. Little fun fact, quick, and we brought this up on our 100th podcast. Is like I think it's like 4.9% or 5.9% of podcasts that start get to episode 100. So the fact that you guys are there, you already beat out 95% of people on podcasts that have started. So congratulations to that. I'll give myself a little pat on the back as well.
Congrats.
And then well, can you remind me the question? Sorry.
Yeah. So like I said, the Cavender twins are no longer doing
Future.
it. Yeah, the long-term vision, like, at this point in time.
Yeah, so I think we want to start these kind of sub channels and kind of run with those. I don't want to be Barstool, but I want to be like Barstool for our interests, if that makes sense. So
They have the blueprint. Dave Portnoy has laid out the blueprint, in my
yeah,
opinion.
exactly. So like we have a makeshift hoops page that we started. I want to get started with a makeshift golf page. Like makeshift project up top is so broad and there's so many categories to it: food, pop culture, entertainment, sports. I want to kind of segment so that one, we're able to directly target people who are passionate in those. But two, also like from a partnership perspective and a business perspective, it's a lot better for us being like, okay, now I can get a basketball specific sponsorship to work with, meet cool players, etc., rather than be like, oh, I'll use Carl Anthony Towns. Carl Anthony Towns, come on the podcast. Okay, what's it about? Oh, well, it's about everything. It's a little bit tougher for us to land people like that, rather than, hey, come on a basketball oriented podcast where we're going to talk about basketball. I feel like it's going to be easier to collaborate and integrate with, people within that niche.
It's funny, when you do that, you become, of course, more specific, yet more versatile at the same time.
Yeah. And I think that's the vision for it. It's like, well, I want to maintain the broadness, but I also want to be able to, be in the specifics. I want to play basketball. I want to play golf. Like that was the original idea and thought behind it. Like we wanted to do the stuff that we love, just record it. This was kind of our avenue to open that up, build an audience, and then hopefully people want to see more of those, skill sets that we have, or head-to-head competitions, or maybe we go blind rank foods at restaurants. I don't know. There's a lot of options, and I'm still trying to figure it out, but that's kind of, the makeshift way. It's figure it out as you go and just get better as you go.
Now, would there be like a specific food, Portner does is one bite that you would ever be interested in rating?
Yeah, I don't think so. So here's my idea, and I'll hint it at people listening at a potential series that's coming up. So I want to do that head-to-head series with Brian, long form videos. He just moved up to Jersey City literally yesterday. More content's gonna be coming out. It's just bound to happen. He's so much closer. I want to do a food series. I want to do blind rankings at restaurants, try 5 foods, actually blindfold ourselves, and integrate what's worked in short form, but put it in the long form. And I think if we, start with the first video, it might not be great, but as we adapt and, like I said, get better with that style, hopefully create something that we could be known for. And I say this to everyone that's in content creation, podcasts, etc. If you can fill out this sentence, like be the guy who does blank, or the girl who does blank, or the group that does blank. If you could fill out that answer, like we're the people who do blind rankings and top 10 lists. I don't know, like I think like Mr. Beast, like he's the guy that gave out money, right? So it's like if you could find something that you're used to or people can recognize you for, I think it could take you a long way.
And it's just a matter also of being familiar, a familiar face. Like your guys' content. I mean, I subscribe and follow now, but prior to that, you guys were popping up on my feed, and I wasn't even on TikTok. This is on Instagram and YouTube. So
Yeah.
and then, it's a matter of not everyone is like has such a strong desire to learn. Some people are just comfortable watching what they watch. So we had Matt Musty on our show recently, who's the drummer for the band Train. And he was telling us he doesn't even get into sometimes, watching certain podcasts or watching certain shows because he loves Howard Stern. His like comfort food or comfort station is Howard Stern. And, Howard Stern's been in the game for decades. So just having that presence for an extended period of time, people know your product, they know what you talk about, they know the guests you have. And that's where everything comes back in. It's like the weave. I don't know if you recently heard about the weave, but just hearing that and like knowing that, like I said earlier, it's a long game and that you got to be familiar in all these people's timelines, daily.
Yeah, and you got to be recognized for stuff. So like I think like even Brian and I, like, people know we're friends, right? It's like I think of Breadbasket, like those are the brothers that play sports and have pot whatever. Like
Mhm.
if you could, if we lean into our friendship and lean, like that's where our personalities are, because we've known each other since first grade. So like the fact that like that is personified through the camera, I think that's what people relate to. They feel like they're hanging out with us. They feel like they haven't played within the friendship that we have. And I'm like, I know everything that we do has to be either Brian versus Zach or Brian with Zach, and like we are a duo.
I
And
can
you know,
sense that. You can sense that clearly, especially if you listen to log form. Like you guys are talking about your buddies and like stories about growing up. And
yeah,
you're in the freaking his basement. Like it's so clear.
it's
Yeah,
the
it's a vibe.
stereotypical like two guys start a podcast in a basement, and like I hate saying it like that because it discredits us, but like that's what it is. We've always had that dream to do something, and the fact that we're able to emulate it and show our friendship through that, it means a ton.
And you know what's interesting? I don't know if you could attest to this, given that you're, East Coast dominant, but I noticed that a lot of you East Coast guys, so we're Midwest guys, we grew up in Indiana near Chicago, but a lot of you East Coast guys are much closer than Midwest or even West Coast guys. What do you attribute that to?
The closer in terms of like the relationship, like we're
Yes,
closer
very much
friends.
so. Very much so.
I mean, we lived so close to each other. So like it was like a 5 minute drive to Brian's house like my entire life until I turned like 22. I mean, I went to college and obviously like you're a little bit more separated there, but when I came home from breaks, like I would go over and visit, Rutgers and go to college, to, go out and everything and celebrate with him. So I just think it's kind of like in our blood. I think giving banter to each other is something that makes you closer. I feel like when someone's your really good friend, you could really, kind of go back and forth and grill each other for stuff. And I think that makes you closer. And I don't think you necessarily get that out, as you go more out west. I think it's a little more friendly. If you get into like LA area, it gets a little more fake, I think. It's like
Oh yeah.
relationship based.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just more so of like, you know what? Like I'm gonna make fun of him every opportunity I get. He's gonna make fun of me. If he sees a bald joke, he's gonna make it. Like if I see a joke where he doesn't eat salad, like I'm gonna make it.
Totally.
And I think that kind of builds your relationship and makes it stronger. And I make fun of my girlfriend, and she probably doesn't like it as much, but I'm like, that means I love you. Like you have to understand that.
I'm with you on that. And, so I've been like I said, look, we're brothers, right? You guys are just really good friends. Maybe like brothers, but we're brothers, and we understand how difficult scheduling can be, right? We're
Yeah.
100 plus episodes, as are you, but we're remote, right? I'm in Florida, Evan's in Indiana.
Mhm.
Like we can work it out. For you guys who don't live together, to do this podcast in person is real. So that's real dedication. Um, how do you manage, especially when guests get involved, right? That is next level. This comes before everything else, especially when guests are involved. How do you guys manage that in your time?
I feel like I'm the time manager, and Brian will probably laugh at that. But like, I got him on a calendar. I can figure out kind of when we have makeshift events versus my personal stuff versus his personal stuff. And I don't see his personal stuff, but I know he's less kind of calendar oriented than I am. So I always have to ask him, "Are you free this day? Are you good?" It's in the calendar. Don't book anything on that day. But we stay consistent. I mean, I like to call it makeshift Mondays because most of the time we film on Mondays. And that's just kind of the alliteration that gets me amped up to film. But I know every Monday I got to go down. I drive down to, the Monmouth County area. I go in his parents' house. We film for 2, 3 hours. We come out of it and we film in bulk. I think that's kind of the big thing for us. And I think like we've had like 20 guests over the course of like 102 podcasts. But yeah, I just think it's make a commitment, stay consistent, and hold each other accountable. Because I know that, hey, you're slacking a little bit. Oh, you're doing too much of this, and not focusing on the channel. We haven't even had to have those conversations because we know that we'd grill each other if we weren't accountable of each other. So I think that's kind of the key.
Well, in Zach, since you guys have started this podcast, have you guys had any other friends who have started podcasts, or have you guys have inspired to do something with social media?
Yeah, so our other friend from first grade, I mean, obviously getting involved with the Makeshift Hoops page, which is cool.
Mhm.
And then my roommate, who's a room over from me right now, maybe he could hear me. Because I was just talking to him. He wants to start a podcast with his brother. I was like, do it. It's like, dude, just start it. I'm like, don't do even long form. Just do the short form and pump that
Yeah.
out and get good at that. Because that's what we did. First 6 months, like we didn't have a formal podcast. We would just have these big filming sessions and then you chop it up. And I feel like that's kind of like the cookie cutter way to do it. It's like start with short form. It's the best way to build an audience these days. And
Yeah.
then move in the long form and go from there. If you could do it all at once, great. If you can't, like at least start with that.
Yeah, that was definitely a learning experience for us because we went long first, and then
Yeah.
we resorted to social media, which is really, in a way taking things to another level in terms of not like a billion views like you guys have, but just eyeballs and overall, networking connections. But speaking of networking, you guys have had some cool guests. What has that been like being able to leverage your show and meet some of these incredible people?
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean some athletes even just going to like the Giants training camp and meeting some of the football players and even like recently, like 2 years ago, they didn't say anything to us. They didn't know who we were. And then you get some players coming up to you and like, oh, you're the top 10 guy. You're like, yeah, yeah, cool. You
Top
want to do
10
content? Like
guy.
yeah, it's like a lot easier. But it's incredible. And I think you get more comfortable as you go. I mean, the biggest star we've gotten was Kevin Hart. We were at a Netflix red carpet. We got an interview spot and we got him for two questions. And like right before it, I literally said, I was told Brian, I was like, it's showtime. Let's do it. And you kind of get amped up and you're a little nervous and you don't want to mess your line up and you want to, leverage their time appropriately. Um, but it's been incredible building a network. I mean, I got a list of contacts and being able to connect other people to other people is a great thing to be able to do as well. Hey, I got a guy that can video edit, or I got a guy that has a channel for this. Like you guys should collaborate. It's been life changing, and that's something I've always wanted to do is connect people, and I feel like I've been able to do that through this role.
Yeah, it is cool. Like you said, you're the top 10 guy, right? When you guys do have these fun, rankings, let's call them rankings. Is this Chat GPT? Is this Zach GPT? Where is this stuff coming from?
I like Zach GPT. I like that. No, it literally like I'll have an idea for like food. Like we did fried food recently. And like
Mhm.
I'll come up with the ones I think will perform well. But if I need a fourth or fifth one, I'll go into Chat GPT and like list me 30 fried foods. I'm gonna like pick
Yeah.
one that I like. But the ideas are all us. I mean, like I'm telling you, we're like the most last minute creators that post the amount that we do. Like we film Monday. I guarantee you 20 minutes before filming, I'm still gonna be filling out my prep for the week to be able to film like the 60 videos that we do. And it's just how it works. And we're good at it and we're fine with it. And if I have ideas throughout the week, I'll write them down. But overall, it's kind of just, it's this mind. It runs. I get an idea, I have a conversation, I write it down, and then we go from there. And you get inspiration from other accounts, like food accounts and stuff. We'll see something like the Chick-fil-A sauce video that's like popping off on Instagram for us right now. That was just like a banner post. And I saw like, oh, here's the recipe. So I saw the recipe. I was like, let's make it on the channel. And then all of a sudden it's killing on all platforms. So you just got to be receptive and in that mindset that like anything could be a video.
Yeah, well, and did you just say 60 videos a week you guys post?
I think we post, now I have to think. The most we've ever done in one filming session was literally 96 videos. And that was when we were only doing the short form and it was insane. Because we filmed for like 2, 3 weeks ahead of content. It was crazy. But I think we post 6 times a day in short form. I mean, like that's our bread and butter. We put out more than anyone else, and I'm convinced that there's no other duo on the internet that only has them editing the videos that puts out more than us.
That's a
Um,
lot of content.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like, I mean, 6 times 7, so like 42 videos a week. Some days are less, some days are more. So call it,
And
5. It's crazy.
are the videos pre-scheduled? There's someone posting them
I
at that
post
time.
everything.
Yeah.
So here's you want the process real quick?
Yeah, I'd like to hear
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Brian's the short form editor, and I've done more short form editing recently when we need help with it because of the events and stuff that we have. But he edits the short form video. He sends me a text. First video's in the drive, puts the title of it. I go on my Google Drive, the folder for the day that it is. I grab it, download it, post it to all 4 or 5 platforms, and then yeah, it's just out there. So that's happening. It's 5:30 now. We normally post like right about now. I'm sure I'll get a text from Brian within the next 20 minutes being like, hey, fourth video's in the drive, like post it up. So I don't even know it's coming until he sends it to me. So it's like really funny how it works.
Well,
And
that is interesting,
yeah,
because given that, I mean, that, like I said, that's a lot of content, every single day. You're clicking post 6 plus. I mean, and if you do three, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, that's 18 posts a day, right?
Yeah.
That's nonstop. So with that said, do you think to get, where you guys have gotten, is it quantity over quality? Or I mean, obviously quality, you gotta have quality, but that's quantity. 6 posts a day is quantity.
Yeah, I think it's and I misspoke my statement before. I don't think there's a duo that posts more at the level of quality that we post.
Okay,
I
understood.
think those two together kind of help you run. But like at first it was one video a day. And it's like, hey, like I don't know if you know the account Lumberland. Like a few years back, they had like 2 million plus followers, but they got bought out or something happened. But they did just games like we do, kind of, but like in a warehouse, and they made like baseball bat mugs. We saw them and we're like, hey, they're posting 9, 10 times a day. I mean, they have a team of 20, 30 people, but like if we could do more and it's doing well, like that's how you're going to increase the viewership. Like if you had 6 videos in a day, get 100,000 views, that's 600,000 views versus like you get one that's 100,000, you're at 100,000. And there's nothing bad about that. I mean, it's great to even just post content daily. And if you're doing it, you have to. But being able to, have days where you get 2 or 3 viral videos just because you're playing the lottery ticket every time you post, like it's amazing. And that's kind of, that's when you get hot, and then you get one or two, and then the next 5 posts are hot as well. So I think it's quantity at first, but like increase the quality as you go.
absolutely. And I think we just got on TikTok this week actually. So
We're a little late to
we
the party,
we have so
but
many
we're at the
old
party.
videos that I should just try firing off on TikTok like you do 5, 6 times a day.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like the content catalog, there's no reason not to. Um, it does take time, like I will say, because like I probably
Hmm.
post on my phone for 40 minutes a day doing the 6 posts. Like it takes me 5, 10 minutes for each one. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, it's worth it. And like I wouldn't say like if you don't think it's quality or think it's worse quality than what you're posting now, then don't. But maybe it's moving forward. Maybe you know that you're gonna have, 10 clips from a podcast, and hey, I could run those out over 3 days and do three a day or something like that. It's the more tickets you play, and I love that analogy, it's like the higher chance you have of winning the lottery. And the more you'll be pushed out because the platforms like TikTok especially loves quantity. So if you do that, I mean it's if you're monetizing, it's gonna fall off because after the first 30 videos it falls off. And after the first video you post versus the third video, it's different. But yeah, it's if you care about viewership and expanding your brand like that, that's the thing to focus on.
No, and I thought you needed X amount of followers to monetize on TikTok.
Yeah, I think you need, is it 10K? I think you need 10K. So if you're at 10K followers, and then there might be a viewership thing too. But like once you get to that point, if you're worried about like money, like that's not the way to do it as a creator. I would focus
Absolutely.
on quality and make sure that you're posting out stuff that you're proud of. But don't get like too hypercritical, but like, be able to post with consistency and try and up the quality every time. It's the same formula. It's just over
Yep.
and
Well, forget social media for a second. I mean, I guess it's correlated, but just overall marketing. Have you guys taken any steps to market your show, or it's really only been just by posting, posting, posting?
It's been pretty organic. I've never paid for anything like pushing ads or anything. We
Yep.
haven't done any of that. Um, I just think like I think the platforms understand quality. So like TikTok's more of like you could just post whatever. You post yourself dancing, it could go viral, right? But
Yep.
if you do that on Instagram, it's probably not going to do anything. So I think as the quality went up, the platforms appreciate it. YouTube likes that. Instagram likes that. It's like it's a human reviewing a thing. But it's because the viewers like it more. And if they engage more and you're posting consistently, anything could pop. So
Yeah, no, it's a cool, and I do like when you guys, talk about sport. You guys just give interesting talking points. I think that's what makes you guys stand out. I think you know that, right? Um, it's just interesting things. Like I don't know where these rankings are coming from. Like they're all from
Mm.
different sources, I believe, and it's just very unique, right? Like, is anyone in this game does what you guys do?
I feel like Breadbasket does similar stuff. Broadcast Boys can do some similar stuff. Freddy Show does similar games. Like, and I'll say this, like we take stuff from them, they take stuff from us. Like we were
Yeah.
the first ones, I feel like, to put out top 10, top 5 guessing lists. People took that, and which is fine. And then
Yeah.
like we took like the $15 to spend based on like whatever.
That's
Like
good. Yeah.
Freddy Show did that for a zombie apocalypse. So like, okay, like let's do that because it performed well for him and we're friendly with them. Let's do that, give them credit, and then after that, like we can innovate it. Like, okay, create your perfect dinner, create your perfect meal, create your perfect party. So like it's across the board. You could switch it up, and it's like the same way Charlie D'Amelio and Addison Rae could do the same dance on TikTok. Like these are our dances.
Yeah.
Like anybody who gets mad at that, like I've had accounts that are just starting out and they're like, you ripped our idea, you saw our stuff. I'm like, first of all, I've never seen your account before. But the fact that you reached out to me, we had the same idea, it just means that you probably saw something that gave me the same idea we did. And I think
Yeah.
that's fine. And I've replied back. I was like, you gotta like not show respect, but be respectful and treat people the way you want to be treated. Because once you
Yep.
get to a point where you're like being protective over your ideas, like that's not how this platform works, and it's not how the social media landscape works. If people
Not
see
at
a good
all.
idea, they're gonna want to do it too. It's the same thing about the TikTok dances or trends. Like you just got to make it your own. That's the most important part.
Yeah, it's like the NFL. It's a copycat league.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's fine. Like everyone like flips out. It's like totally fine. I'm like, if somebody wants to start an account and do top 10 list, go for it. Maybe don't copy every single one that we've ever done and like just go straight down a list and be like, here's my 130 videos. But like, no, just go in and make it your own. Be like, oh, I found this source, or like, oh, I think it'd be interesting to rank like the best countries at like I don't know, water polo or something. Like do whatever you want. Like, it doesn't matter. As
Yeah.
long as you're having fun and you kind of make it unique to yourself. The thing that differentiates is the personality in the videos. The list can all be the same.
Yeah, cool. So something else that we find ourselves very busy with, as you could see from our show, we have a new guest every week. So it really is constant outreach. You and Brian kind of just sometimes do the two of you, but when you guys do have guests, at this point in time, are you guys still doing that outreach, or you're more no? At this point in time, are there mutual connections that kind of refer to referral kind of thing?
Yeah, I some of it was outreach. I would say like Instagram DMs are like our best like shot in the dark. Oh, I saw this person like our video, so maybe they like our
Mhm.
stuff. Let's do something. And it's become more recently more about the network that you have, or if you're at an event and you meet someone, just explore it. But like Joe Gatto, like we would have never gotten Joe Gatto. Like we're not qualified to get Joe Gatto, but his nephew went to our high school. So you find that out 2 years ago. You poke him for a year. You finally get in touch with him. Oh, now's not the time. Another year passes. So like that podcast is like 2 years in the making almost of us like
Mhm.
understanding that relationship to our friend. But finally actually making it happen when he wants to go promote some stuff and be on our channel and thinks it's a good idea. So like I thought that was awesome, but that's a personal connection.
Yeah,
Same thing
super cool.
yeah, the Costco guys, like I reached out to them like before they were like gigantic because I was like, who my roommate, and if he watches this, he'll laugh. He's the most on top of social media I've ever seen anyone time my entire life. He was on TikTok right after it switched from Musically. He's like, this thing's gonna be something. And this was my senior year of college. I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about. And now it's my career. So like it's crazy how it all works, but like he's like, oh, like this guy, you should reach out to him. I was like, cool. And you just shoot him a DM and like I have AJ's number and like he texts me like once a week. Like he's a great dude. Like it's hysterical.
But those people are so good. And it's great. They've grown significantly, right? They're
Yeah.
everywhere now. They're everywhere.
They
One of
had
those guys,
150,000 followers when they were on our podcast, I think, on TikTok. At least like that low. It's great. They're past us. I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for 3.5 years. It's like, but
what
they've
are
been doing
they
it forever too. They
So
honestly,
far.
what are they like when the camera's not rolling? Same thing?
I mean, they're great. Yeah, it's like family. And like
Yeah, I
anybody who's
love
like sees
that.
the behind the scenes clips and footage and stuff, like I get it because you can have more of like this like director slash like this is a production role. It's like the first time we filmed with them, it was just Big Justice and AJ. And I was like, that's like family. It's like they just came over and it just felt natural and everything. Second time, it was me in Brian's house without Brian or his family there. Big Justice and his entire family, the Rizzler and his dad. I was like, this is the most uncomfortable I've ever felt in terms of like this isn't even my house. I'm like that's I have all these people in it.
That's so
But it becomes
funny.
a little bit more hectic. I mean, you're in a small area and there's a lot of people in the area. And like that behind the scenes clip of them in Costco, like talking about it, or like AJ was like directing. It's like, well, he's in a busy spot. They want to get this done. They want to get out of there. And like they've probably been there for a while already. And like, yes, it is a production and they're putting in a lot of effort. So as long as AJ and Big Justice are like receptive to each other within that, hey, dad, like give me the feedback. Like, let's get this done. It's totally fine. And Big Justice has that mindset. He's in the
Yeah,
mindset that he wants everything to be great. So
it's a business at the end of the
yeah.
day. You gotta get things right. And how about the Rizzler? That kid's so adorable. I love that
He's
guy.
unbelievable. I was texting his dad today.
Unbelievable.
So here's this little side story. This is a fun little story. We have a connection with Madison Square Garden where we went. Brian used to work with this guy that runs their social now. We go to games, we got content there. They send us some deals. It's phenomenal. I got a
Cool.
text from our guy at Madison Square Garden, and he goes, can you connect me to the Costco guys?" I felt like I was in the mafia. I was like, oh God, like I gotta send this. So I connected them, and then they wound up. You see the Rizzler 2 weeks
Yeah,
later
it's
on the
shooting
court,
who?
MSG. That was because of us.
Oh
And
wow.
I was like, I connected the Rizzler.
That's so funny.
It felt great. And the fact I texted AJ and Uncle Sabast or Brian is his name. Afterwards, I was like, how they enjoy it? Did they have fun? And the Rizzler's dad was saying, he's like, he doesn't realize how cool that was. And I'm like, he had a blast. He had so much fun, but like he got pictures with Amari Stoudemire,
Yeah.
Vinny from Jersey Shore. He's like, he doesn't realize the magnitude. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, one day he'll appreciate it.
Bro,
He
I
really
think
will.
that picture of him and Amari Stoudemire is the greatest picture taken in
My
2025.
guy took that picture. That's my
It's
connection.
spectacular.
Yeah,
It's
shout out David.
spectacular. Bro, there's got to be like a yeah. How tall is he? He's got like 4 or
So
5.
funny.
Yeah, I think he's
Amari
honestly
Stoudemire's
probably.
7 foot. Like it's just incredible, dude. The memes that I've seen on Twitter or X, excuse me, are just unreal, dude. He is so like in the shot of him shooting the ball,
Oh my
dude.
God. It's all, you know what it is? And I give credit to both the dads because I feel like they directed a little bit more. And like Big Justice has more ideas than the Rizzler because the Rizzler's literally 8 years old. But like I give credit to the way they film stuff and their sense of humor. And then like also what was I gonna say? With the Knicks and like just doing that whole thing and being on the court and like their fame has gotten out of like their scope. So like no one's ever gonna post us and be like, oh, like look at them, they did this, or like I'm not gonna get cartoons made of me. I'm not gonna get like all this crazy stuff. They have to deal with that now, which is nuts. And like I'm just trying to think from like a family perspective. I was like, well, this dad's like running this account, it's a parent managed account, and like now you have like all these memes, all this stuff going out. Like it's beyond their control now, which is insane.
Yeah.
But that just pays homage to like how much success they've had
It's been
and how big
awesome.
they've grown in the league.
On the podcast you did with them, they mentioned the fact that they went to the mall and they were just mobbed, like
Yeah.
mobbed, and like that. I mean, based off hearing that, that was probably like a realization for them that like our life is different now, forever,
Yeah,
right?
completely changed. It's like he got literally flooded. He was like, I think on that podcast too, they said that like he was signing yearbooks in his school and they were like
Yeah.
around the like corner. They had to go like from upstairs to downstairs because everybody wanted his autograph. Like that's a different level. That's a complete like I will never have I don't want to say never because my aspirations
Yeah.
yeah, I would love that. But like I don't get that now. Like I get people walk past me in the street, go, "Hey, love the pod." I'm like, "Thanks," and I'm totally fine with that
That's
level.
awesome. Yeah, that's
It's
awesome.
validating and also just like the right level. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
deal with a lot of stuff. Like they can't go in public without being recognized. It's
And
crazy.
at 12
Because
years old, I don't think I would have been able to handle that
No, not
personally.
at all. But
No shot.
I'm telling you, and like I'm not just saying this because I like the kids. Both of them like have like the it factor,
They
right?
have the
Like
vision
they have
too.
an understanding. The Rizzler, he's like 8 years old, but also 80. Like he just seems to have like this knowledge and like the way he's talking and like some of the ad stuff that they do. I'm
you
like,
know,
this kid's like reciting the lines. He's killing it. Like he just knows kind of what would hit. And he has a sense for it. He's hilarious. He's gonna be so funny. I'm sure he'll go down the comedic route at some point. But
well,
it's
it his name's the Rizzler for a reason, right?
yeah, no, he literally has the Riz. He's unbelievable.
That's
I have friends
amazing.
that are in their late 20s and they're doing the face. It's like we're in between
Oh
So
my
two
God,
funny.
worlds.
my the makeshift Instagram story yesterday. We were at Carmine's for a dinner thing, and like I literally said while we're all sitting like this mafia style restaurant. I was like, wrist face, let's do it. And it's like panning with the wrist face with the Godfather music behind it. I'm like, no, dude, it's cemented in history as a meme. Again, you said
Absolutely.
YouTube's the search engine. 10 years, 20 years from now, you say to someone who's our age, like, would be, I guess, like 47, I would be in 20 years. They would know. You go, boom, they're gonna laugh because they knew that era. Like
Yeah.
whether they fade out or not, like they knew the era. It's crazy.
Yeah, well,
Fucking
Zach, I'm
awesome.
excited to see the content evolve. Like we said, the shelf life really will last forever, especially as you guys evolve your show. The Costco guys, the Rizzler, it's going to be fun to watch it all unwind here in the coming years. But in the meantime, it's been a pleasure welcoming you to our show. This is long overdue and really thrilled we got to make it happen. So appreciate you taking time and joining the Everything But Politics podcast. Zach and the Makeshift Project, thank you very much.
Yes, do you got my last name in you? Do you got it?
Zach, Misischia.
It's close enough. Close enough. We'll take it.
We'll take it.
No,
I
thank you guys
appreciate
for
it,
having
brother.
me.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thanks.